When former President Barack Obama made an unplanned visit to his old high school in Honolulu, he expected to find memories. Instead, he found Salvador Vargas, the same janitor who had quietly protected him from bullies 4 decades earlier, still mopping floors at age 80, despite painful knees and meager pay. What began as a chance encounter would lead to a shocking revelation about their shared past and a life-changing decision no one saw coming. Barack Obama stepped out of the sleek black SUV and looked up at Punahou School. The building hadn't changed much in the nearly 40 years since he'd been a student here. The same walls, the same breeze through the trees, the same feeling of possibility. And for Barack, the same mix of good and bad memories. "We're running late, Mr. President," said Mia, his assistant. "The Civic Summit in Chicago starts in less than 3 hours." "This won't take long," Barack replied. "I just want to walk through here before we announce the new education initiative." Mia nodded and stepped back to make a phone call. Barack walked alone toward the main entrance. He hadn't told the school he was coming. No news cameras, no big welcome. Just a quiet return to the place where his dreams began. The doors were unlocked. Classes had ended, but the lights were still on. Barack stepped inside. The smell of floor polish and chalk dust hit him. That eternal school smell. For a moment, he was 17 again. Books in hand, basketball tucked under one arm, wondering who he was supposed to become. He walked slowly down the main hallway. There was the old library, where he'd buried himself in Baldwin, Hughes, and Ellison. There was the classroom where he'd learned to write speeches, where a teacher once told him his voice had power. He turned down a hallway and headed toward the science wing. Then he heard it, the soft squeak of a mop. An old man was cleaning up what looked like a spilled soda. He moved carefully, his back hunched. There was something familiar about him. Barack stopped. "Mr. Vargas?" The man looked up, squinting. "Well, I'll be. Barack Obama?" "It's me, Mr. Vargas," Barack said, walking closer. "But I'm not so young anymore." Mr. Vargas smiled, leaning on his mop. "Not young, no. But I'd know those eyes anywhere." Barack Obama shook his head in disbelief. "You're still working here?" Mr. Vargas nodded. "Where else would I go? This place is home. 52 years now. I've seen a lot of young people walk these halls, some scared, some brave, all trying to figure out who they are." Barack did the math in his head. "You started working here before I was even born." "I've been following what you've been up to," Vargas said with a proud smile. "Senator, President, I tell the kids I knew you when you were their age. Some of them don't believe me." Barack felt a strange tightness in his chest. This man had been quietly kind to him during some of the loneliest days of his youth. He remembered how Mr. Vargas always seemed to appear when the bullies were nearby, how he'd find reasons to mop near the library when Barack was hiding there. Small acts of kindness that had meant everything. "You should be retired by now," Barack said softly. "Enjoying life." Mr. Vargas shrugged. "This is my enjoyment. These kids, they keep me going. They keep me young in here." He tapped his chest. "Even if the rest of me feels like it's rusting." A bell rang somewhere in the building. "That's the late bell for robotics club," Mr. Vargas said. "Gotta finish the science wing before they come in." He began to shuffle away, pushing his mop and bucket. "Mr. Vargas," Barack called after him. "Do you have time for a cup of coffee? I'd love to catch up." The old man turned around, a flicker of surprise on his face, followed by a warm smile. "For you? Sure. Let me just finish this hallway. 20 minutes. "I'll wait," Barack said. He pulled out his phone and sent a quick text to Mia. "Need to reschedule Chicago. Something important came up." Her reply was immediate. "The mayor won't be happy." Barack typed back. "We'll make it up to him. This can't wait." He put his phone away and watched as Mr. Vargas slowly mopped the hallway, taking care to get into every corner. The old man hummed softly as he worked, some old tune Barack didn't recognize. His mind was already racing ahead. He had no doubt, something about this meeting was going to change both of their lives. 20 minutes later, true to his word, Mr. Vargas returned with a gentle smile and led Barack down a hallway. There's a teacher's lounge around the corner, he said. Nobody uses it this time of day. They entered a small room with mismatched couches, a humming coffee machine, and the faint smell of chalk and old paper. Mr. Vargas moved slowly but with purpose, like someone who knew exactly how much energy he had and wasn't going to waste it. "Still take your coffee black?" he asked as he poured from the pot. Barack raised an eyebrow. "You remember that?" "I remember all my kids' little habits. You used to stay late working on those speeches and essays. I'd bring you coffee sometimes." Barack chuckled as he accepted the chipped mug. "You never said anything. You just left it on my desk." "Didn't want to interrupt," Vargas said as he sat down with a quiet groan. "You always looked like you were solving the world's problems before dinner." Barack smiled. Sometimes it felt that way. They sat in silence for a few moments, sipping their coffee. Through the window, Barack could see students crossing the campus. They looked so young now, impossibly young. "You were always kind to me," he said at last. "Back when I was just that awkward kid who didn't quite fit in." "You always said thank you," Mr. Vargas replied, waving a hand. That meant something. Barack studied the man's face, the deep lines, the worn hands, the gentleness in his eyes. "Do you keep in touch with your family?" Barack asked. "My son lives in Australia," Vargas replied. "Calls me every Sunday. He's got 2 kids now. Bright little ones." "Do they know what you've done here? What this place means to you?" Mr. Vargas smiled. "They've never seen it. Plane tickets cost more than my car's worth. But I tell them stories." He stood, moved to a narrow bookshelf beside the coffee machine, and pulled down a thick, weathered leather ledger. "This is what I wanted to show you." He placed it carefully in Barack's hands. "My memory book." Barack opened it, curious. Inside were yellowed pages, filled with handwritten entries in careful, looping script. Each was dated and written like a short journal entry. Some had newspaper clippings or photos attached with tape that had turned brittle over time. "My students," Mr. Vargas said quietly. "Not all of them, just the ones who needed something extra. The ones I tried to help." Barack turned the pages. September 15, 1978. Girl with the red hair being picked on for her stutter. Found her crying by the east stairwell. Told her about my cousin who stuttered but became a famous radio announcer. Left a book about famous people with speech problems on her desk. Saw her reading it at lunch. She smiled at me. March 3, 1982. Boy whose father died last month. Back at school today. Trying to be brave but hiding behind the gym. Asked him to help me carry boxes. Told him about losing my dad young. Let him talk. He helped. Walked away with shoulders lighter. Barack felt a chill. Each story was small, just a few lines. But the weight of them, the love and the details, hit like a tidal wave. "You wrote all this?" he asked. "Not their names," Mr. Vargas said. "Never felt right to write names. Just the moments. The ones that mattered." Barack flipped forward to the late 1980s. His heart skipped as he found an entry from his own time at Punahou. June 12, 1988. Tall, thin boy with the speeches. Older boys took his notes again. Found them in the trash. Cleaned them up. He works so hard. Stays late to write. His mind works differently. Teachers don't always see it. But I think he might change the world if people just let him think. Barack's throat tightened. He kept reading. November 8, 1988. Computer room. Same boy reading about civil rights law now. Found him asleep at the keyboard at midnight. Called his mom. Walked him home. He talked the whole way about how change happens from the inside. Says the system's broken but fixable. January 20th, 1989. Bullied again. Started mopping near the library at lunch. Bullies stay away when I'm around. Brought him coffee today while he wrote. Always says thank you even when lost in his thoughts. Barack closed the book slowly, overwhelmed. You kept track of all these, for decades? Mr. Vargas nodded. Small things. But I needed to remember. Reminds me it was worth it. You changed lives, Barack said. I just saw people, Vargas replied. That's all. Barack looked at him and realized something. This man had never been just a janitor. He had been a guardian, a witness, a quiet protector of 1,000 young lives. Barack handed the memory book back to Mr. Vargas, who held it with care, like it was something sacred. You could have done so many other things, Barack said gently. Better paying jobs. Easier work. Mr. Vargas ran his hand over the leather cover. I found my purpose here. After my time in the army, I needed peace. Something steady. Predictable. Being around young people gave me hope. And I was good at it, knowing which messes needed cleaning, which kids needed protecting. Barack nodded. You saw things nobody else did. Mr. Vargas smiled softly. You always said thank you. Most kids didn't. They returned to the cafeteria for a simple lunch. Barack picked at his food while Mr. Vargas carefully cut his sandwich into precise squares. Every motion was deliberate, nothing wasted. After Maria passed, Vargas said suddenly, this job saved me. It gave me something to wake up for. Barack leaned forward. Your son in Australia? Do you visit him? Mr. Vargas shook his head. Too expensive. We do video calls. His daughter wants to be a doctor. Barack paused. They've never seen where you've spent your life. Mr. Vargas looked down. Some things can't be helped. A group of boys passed their table, whispering and pointing at Barack. They recognize you, Vargas said with a smile. Fame is strange, Barack replied. People think they know you, but they don't. Vargas nodded. Must be hard sometimes. It is. But it opens doors, lets me do things that matter. Mr. Vargas tilted his head. Like fixing schools? Like making sure good people are taken care of? Barack said, meeting his eyes. Mr. Vargas looked uneasy. I didn't show you that memory book to ask for anything. I know, Barack said. And I'm not offering charity. I'm offering recognition. Later, as they left the cafeteria, Barack asked quietly, Can I see your office? Mr. Vargas blinked, then smiled. It's nothing fancy. Just a small room by the boiler. But sure. They walked down a quiet hallway. Barack sent a quick message to Mia. Cancel all my meetings this afternoon. I'll be here a while. Her reply buzzed instantly. Board meeting at 7 p.m. can't be moved. I'll make it. But this comes first, Barack replied. Mr. Vargas unlocked a plain metal door marked Maintenance. Inside was a tiny room barely larger than a closet. Cleaning supplies, a wobbly desk, a battered chair repaired with duct tape. On the wall hung 2 old photos, a woman with kind eyes, Maria, and a younger Mr. Vargas in uniform. This is my kingdom, Vargas said with a chuckle. 20 square feet of peace. Barack looked around. You've made it yours. You don't need much space to be happy, Vargas replied. Just a good book and some memories. He reached into a filing cabinet and pulled out a carefully wrapped bundle. I want to show you something else. He untied the string and opened the brown paper to reveal a stack of old pages, sketches, notes, diagrams. You threw these away back in 1988, Vargas said. I found them in the trash bin after you left late one night. Barack's eyes widened. The pages were his unmistakably. In his teenage handwriting. Community Uplift Program, Grassroots Planning Blueprint. Drawings of neighborhood structures. Ideas for youth mentorship. Notes about systemic inequality and solutions through local government partnerships. I remember this, Barack whispered. I worked on it for weeks. I thought it was childish. Too idealistic. It didn't look that way to me, Vargas said. I couldn't understand everything, but I knew it was important. Barack turned the pages slowly. Crude as the ideas were, he could see the seeds of what would later become his career. Organizing in Chicago, passing legislation, even some elements of the Obama Foundation. These are the roots, he said. The very beginning. I thought they might matter someday, Vargas said. Not in money, in meaning. Barack looked up at him. You kept my future safe even when I couldn't see it. You were always going to do something important, Vargas said. I just gave you space to grow. Barack nodded slowly. You did more than that. You saw me when no one else did. As they left the room, something shifted in Barack. His mind was spinning, not with politics, not with public image, but with resolve. He stepped outside, raised his phone, and called Mia. I need you to gather some information, he said. Punahou's budget, pension plans, especially for non-teaching staff. And details on Salvador Vargas, salary, employment history, benefits. Mia didn't ask why. Also, Barack added, find the best orthopedic surgeons in the country for knee replacements. I want timelines, recovery plans, everything. Is this for the education initiative? Mia asked. Barack paused. It's becoming something more. I'll explain later. He ended the call, stood for a moment in the warm Honolulu air, and stared up at the familiar walls of the school. Inside, a janitor with aching knees was still cleaning, still mentoring, still invisible to most. But not to him. Not anymore. 3 weeks passed in a blur of meetings, late-night drafting sessions, and whispered calls across time zones. Barack Obama worked with his usual intensity, but this time, it wasn't for a bill or a policy proposal. It was for Mr. Salvador Vargas. The day finally arrived. Barack returned to Punahou School, not alone this time, with Mia, a lawyer, 2 members of the Obama Foundation's education team, and the school principal awaiting his arrival. Remember, Barack told his team as their SUVs pulled up, nothing happens until I've spoken with Mr. Vargas. This is about him first. Inside, the end-of-day school bustle was underway. Students recognized Barack and whispered excitedly, but he kept walking, scanning for a familiar figure. They found Mr. Vargas in the gym, sweeping after a volleyball practice. He moved slowly, his knees clearly in pain. Mr. Vargas. Barack called out. The old man turned and lit up with surprise. You came back. I promised I would, Barack replied, smiling. Barack introduced the team. They'll be meeting with the principal while you and I talk, if that's okay. Vargas looked a little confused but nodded. Sure. What would you like to talk about? I was hoping you'd show me more of the school, Barack said. The places that need the most attention. The spots most people overlook. Mr. Vargas raised an eyebrow. You want a tour of the school's problems? Exactly. For the next hour they walked, slowly, carefully, down hallways and through classrooms. Vargas pointed out everything. Cracked ceilings, faulty wiring, moldy windows, labs with broken faucets, floors patched with duct tape. Everywhere Barack looked, there were signs of Vargas' quiet ingenuity, handmade repairs, makeshift solutions, carefully labeled toolboxes. In one classroom, Vargas pointed to a windowsill. This spot here, the shy kids always sit here. Corner seat by the light. Different faces every year, but always the same spot. Barack touched the worn wood. I used to sit here in English class. I know, Mr. Vargas said with a soft smile. I remember polishing it while you read about Lincoln. In the gym they paused beside the mop bucket. I should get back to work, Vargas said. Actually, Barack replied, I was hoping you'd join me in the principal's office. There's something I'd like to discuss with both of you. Mr. Vargas hesitated, looking down at his faded work uniform. Like this? You're perfect just as you are, Barack assured him. Together, they walked to the principal's office. Inside, Principal Kealoha, Mia, and Barack's team were seated around a large table. Mr. President, the principal said, standing. We're honored to host you again. Barack shook hands. Then he gestured toward Vargas. Mr. Vargas is the reason for this meeting. The principal looked surprised. Salvador? Yes, Barack said. And I hope you'll allow me a few minutes to explain. Everyone sat. Mr. Vargas looked uncomfortable being the center of attention. Barack took a deep breath. First, I want to thank Principal Kealoha for accommodating this meeting. What I'm about to propose requires your support. But it began 3 weeks ago when I walked these halls and saw Mr. Vargas still working at age 80 in pain, still serving students the way he always has. Quietly. Invisibly. He turned to Mr. Vargas. I discovered your memory book. I saw the stories. The students you helped. Including me. The room fell silent. Barack opened a folder Mia handed him. That's why I'm establishing the Vargas Foundation, with an initial endowment of $50 million. Gasps echoed around the room. Mr. Vargas's mouth fell open. The foundation has 3 missions, Barack continued. First, to support and uplift the unsung heroes of education. Janitors, bus drivers, cafeteria workers. The people who keep schools running and students safe, yet are too often overlooked. He handed a document to the principal. We'll begin with a full renovation of Punahou, every issue Mr. Vargas identified today. His insight will guide every step. Barack turned back to Mr. Vargas. The second mission is to create a new role in schools nationwide. Building steward, a position that combines maintenance oversight with mentorship. Someone who teaches students practical skills, how to repair, how to solve problems, how to care for a place. He looked directly at Vargas. I want you to be the first building steward. You'll receive full medical coverage, including surgery for your knees, and a salary triple what you currently make. When you retire, your pension will be based on this new salary, not your janitor's wage. Tears welled in Vargas's eyes. I don't know what to say. Just say you'll consider it. Barack nodded toward Mia. She slid another folder across the table. There's more, she said gently. The foundation will fly your son and grandchildren here from Australia. And whenever you want to visit them, there will always be a ticket waiting. Mr. Vargas covered his face with both hands, shoulders shaking. The room fell respectfully silent. After a long pause he looked up. I accept your offer, he whispered. But on one condition. Barack leaned in. What's that? I still want to clean the east hallway myself. Barack grinned. Deal. But only after your knees are fixed. The principal stood and extended his hand. Congratulations, Salvador. Or should I say, building steward Vargas. As everyone applauded, Barack leaned back, eyes on the man who had once walked him home in the dark. Later, as the room cleared out, Mr. Vargas tugged at Barack's sleeve. There's something else I want to show you. Back in the tiny office, he retrieved a bundle wrapped in faded paper. You once told me these ideas were worthless, he said, unwrapping Barack's discarded teenage policy notes. But I saved them anyway. Barack studied the pages. Many ideas had grown into real programs he later championed. You believed in me before I believed in myself, he said softly. You were just a boy who needed space to think, Vargas replied. I gave you that. That's all. No, Barack said. You gave me much more than that. You gave me the belief that I mattered. 6 months passed in a whirlwind of transformation. The science wing of Punahou School underwent a complete renovation, guided by Mr. Vargas's notes and suggestions. Leaky ceilings were sealed. Outdated equipment was replaced. Labs were modernized. Workspaces for hands-on learning came to life, all under the direction of the Vargas Foundation, fueled by Barack Obama's vision and Salvador Vargas's legacy. During that time, Mr. Vargas had both knees replaced. For the first time in decades, he walked without pain. Students whispered about the mysterious changes, about the janitor who had vanished, and returned with a new title, Building Steward. He began mentoring small groups in the school workshop. He taught them how to fix things, how to use tools, how to solve physical problems with patience and care. Word spread. Students started showing up early. They listened not because they had to, but because he had something real to teach. On a bright October morning, the newly renovated building was ready. The auditorium was packed. Students, teachers, parents, media, and community leaders. On stage stood Principal Kealoha, beaming with pride. Today, he announced, is a historic day. Please join me in welcoming back a distinguished alumnus of Punahou School, former President Barack Obama. Applause thundered as Barack walked to the podium. He wore a simple dark suit. His expression was calm but serious. "Good morning," he said. "Some of you know me as a former president. Some of you know I used to shoot hoops just outside that door. But I'm here today to talk about someone more important than me." He turned toward the side of the stage. "I'd like to introduce someone who, for over 50 years, kept this school alive, not just with his hands but with his heart. Please welcome Mr. Salvador Vargas." The crowd erupted in applause as Mr. Vargas walked on stage. He wore a crisp gray suit and a stunned expression. "To many he was the janitor," Barack continued. "To me and to hundreds of others he was a guardian, a mentor, a quiet hero." Barack spoke about the Vargas Foundation, its mission to uplift invisible workers in schools across the country. He shared data showing that students who connect with support staff, bus drivers, cafeteria workers, janitors, are significantly less likely to drop out. He unveiled the new name of the science building, the Vargas Innovation Center. Gasps and cheers filled the auditorium. "This center," Barack said, "will be a national model. Here, students will learn how to build things, with their minds and with their hands. Digital and physical skills. Coding and carpentry. AI and plumbing. Because the future needs people who can both think and do." Then he turned toward Mr. Vargas again. "I want you to know," Barack said, voice full of emotion, "that this building, this movement, began with a mop and a memory book." He stepped aside and invited Mr. Vargas to the microphone. The old man's hands trembled slightly as he took the mic. "I'm not good at speeches," he said, clearing his throat. "Spent most of my life in the background. But this school has been my family. These students, my kids." His voice grew stronger. "I believe everyone has value. Everyone deserves to be seen. And sometimes all a kid needs is someone to believe in them, quietly." There was a stillness in the room. No one moved. "Thank you, Mr. Obama," he said, "for seeing me. And thank you all, for letting me be part of your story." The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. Afterward, as students demonstrated projects in the new center, solar cars, recycled robots, hand-built furniture, Barack pulled Mr. Vargas aside. "There's one last thing," he said. "You don't know about it yet." He lifted a framed display, a set of old yellowed papers. Mr. Vargas recognized them immediately, Barack's discarded teenage designs for a grassroots community program. "When I showed these to our foundation's innovation team," Barack said, "they noticed something. A thermal management technique you had doodled in the margins? That concept helped us unlock a breakthrough in our public housing energy efficiency models. We filed a patent." Mr. Vargas blinked. "What? You saved these? So I'm giving you 5% of all future revenue from any Obama Foundation project that uses this concept." The old man went pale. "But that'll be millions?" "You preserved my future," Barack said. "It's only right that you benefit from it." The two men shook hands. Cameras flashed. Then, just as Barack was preparing to leave, Mr. Vargas touched his arm. "There's something I need to tell you," he said. Barack tilted his head. "It's something I've kept secret, for over 40 years. Something you deserve to know." He leaned in and whispered into Barack's ear. Only a few words. No one else heard. Barack's eyes widened. He stepped back slowly, staring. "Is that true?" he asked, barely audible. Mr. Vargas nodded, serious. "I've wanted to tell you for so long. But the timing was never right." Barack stood in silence, the weight of the revelation sinking in. It changed everything, his understanding of his past, of who had protected him and why. The moment passed quietly. The secret was theirs alone. But its meaning would last forever.